Good evening, Super League fans. We're into episode 2 for tonight, and I'm being joined by Bolton Phoenix manager Ryan, the defending champion, to talk about everything in the first half of the season at the Phoenix. I hope you enjoy the next half hour or so, and it should be an interesting chat. Just waiting for Ryan to join us. Got plenty of questions lined up, and he's always very honest and direct when he comes on, so there'll be lots of interesting discussion about the defence of the title. I'm looking to talk to him about his rivalry with CMAC at Panathinaikos. And, you know, like the other managers, I'm going to ask him where he thinks the table will finish and who the winner will be. Just waiting for him to gain access here. It looks like Ryan's ready to join us now.
Hello, you alright, Matt? Hello. You there, Matt? No.
Ryan, can you see and hear me okay?
I can see you, yes. I shall put my camera on. Do you need my camera on, or?
Well, that's entirely up to you, whether you want to be visible. It'd be a bit boring for everyone to just look at my ugly face throughout. They want to see you.
How you doing, all right? I think I should be on there.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Let's just set this up. All right?
Perfect, mate, perfect. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Super League, for those that don't know, new baby on board. How's everything going?
I think for anyone who's a dad already, you know, there's good days and bad days. Most of the time, absolutely brilliant. She's amazing. And then every now and again, she drives you a little bit crazy, and you don't know what she wants and all that. But overall, I'm absolutely loving it. She's yeah, fantastic.
Excellent news, mate. And how's the sleep deprivation in training?
It is what it is, isn't it? I'm getting used to it a bit more now.
It's amazing how you used to think 8 hours sleep was the minimum requirement, and now you're happy when you get 3 hours, isn't it?
Yeah. It's you see, you kind of become a zombie at like 3 o'clock in the morning doing that feed, and you just like you're trying to run it on autopilot and still kind of like be awake enough to make sure everything's going okay, but asleep as well.
I'd put my hands up. I was rubbish at it. I was very, very fortunate that Amanda was very good at it, because I was awful. But listen, not everyone wants to hear about the parents' side of things. Let's talk Bolton Phoenix. Let's talk DM Super League, and let's go back 7 days to your 1-0 win away at 7th placed Hooligans. What were your thoughts on the game and performances of certain players?
Well, let's get it. I'm not going to come on here and start saying it was a great performance. We've not been fantastic or anywhere near our best really since, I'd say, towards the end of last season. But it was an efficient performance. The defence was fantastic. We limited them to very few chances, and we took our chances. We're just starting to look a little bit more solid now. Defensively, which is very encouraging. I also say about to kind of go to that result, especially the Hulls result, it kind of draws a line I answered a few questions because they were seventh, we were sixth. I think they would have leapfrogged us if they'd have won that game. Now there's a 5-point gap. And basically, I will say my next game is against Sloths, so at home. So it does kind of, in essence, get a bit of breathing space there. The lads can relax a little bit. They've done the tough job. Last 3 games, two really tough games away at Churchtown and Vallen. Didn't lose either game. Definitely should have beat Vallen, and I think a draw was a fair result against Churchtown. I think we were definitely the better side against us, whether it was a good game or not. But yeah, so yeah, I was happy with that game.
Let's go right back just for a moment to the start of the season. Did you feel, or could you sense any sort of additional pressure going into a campaign as defending champions?
If we'd have won the Super League in the manner of, say Vallen had won the Super League last season, and they were kind of the better team throughout, and they generally dominated the league, and we were catching them towards the end, but they finished top of the league, and they beat us in the first semi-final. I can't remember the name of it, the major semi-final, and were massive favourites going into that final. Now, if they'd have walked all over us, then that would have been the pressure team, Vallen. I mean, he would have come out and thinking he's had such an amazing season that he would have been the team to beat again this year. Now, we kind of, because of such our real poor start last year, we've kind of gone under the radar. Generally, we put together an amazing run which propelled us up the table. I can't see that run without a defeat being really tested. I think it was 16 games without defeat in the last season. Now, that kind of, and then going into that final, underdogs, you could say they called smash and grab job, Thierry Henry getting the winner for us. We weren't, as a lot of people say, deserved winners of the Super League last season. A lot of people still thought we were second best in that final. We champed them, is what I get told a lot. So I'd say we've got more of a drive to go out there and prove that we're good enough to do it again. Really, I don't see there's any pressure because we've got the title. You mean we can, as long as we finish in the top 6? You mean there's no real? I don't think there's any pressure on us at all. We've got that star. We're the only team in the league with a star on our badge. So yeah, I don't feel any pressure. I don't think the players feel any pressure. It's we know we've got a target on our back, but we like that. We know we've got a chip on our shoulder. And I'm confident things are going to come good again this season, whether we get the title or not. You mean you've got to be in there, haven't you? So, and I think we will be. So
I do believe
I won't say we have any additional pressure now.
I do believe you're right. I mean, as you say, you put that remarkable run together. I'm one of those that believes that on the day, Vallen were probably the better team in the final. But at the end of the day, as you say, you got the job done. You've got the start, and it's been proven in the previous incarnation of the Super League just how difficult it is to retain. We've never had a champion retain the title, and we've only ever
that's
had
an ambition, isn't it?
Twice. So you are right. Fast forward now to where we sit today, and as you've alluded to, you're currently sitting 6th, which I believe is better than you were at this stage last season. You are 7 points off top, and as you've already said, 5 clear of 7th. Do you?
Yep.
A lot of people are saying the top 6 as it is now is pretty secure. Do you feel you've already got your top 6 spot sorted?
Right. Yes, I'm looking up the table. I think my top 6 spot is sorted. And I think there's 2 teams outside of the top 6 who could potentially put a run together and challenge for that top 6 spot. I don't think it'd be if either Astor or BTEC. BTEC, I think, are a bit too far away, even though they've got the squad. Astor are not that far away, and they could potentially put a run together. And if one of or a couple of the top 6 kind of their form changes, which is easily done in the Super League, then then they could be under threat. I don't think the 5-point gap is too much, but I think we're looking up the table. I think we're getting better, Phoenix. We're not looking down. We're not worried about. Do you mean we're not worried about Alf and his boys going on a storm? We're kind of looking up. We're looking up. I think it's if you look at the goal difference up in the top 6, and I mean how tight ourselves, Panathinaikos and Ballon have been compared to the top 3 defensively. I think that will come into fruition as the season goes on, and kind of I think 4th, 5th, and 6th will probably end up coming 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. In what order, I'm not too sure.
It's an interesting point, and in the interest of fairness, because you have had a few comments thrown your way, mainly from me. Let's be fair. But there are.
I throw them your way as well, mate. I throw them your way. It's fine.
There are other rumblings from other areas that yours thus far has been the worst defence of a title. But what I would say is, from my perspective on that, is because the way you put that run together last year and the way Bolton Phoenix carry themselves, I think there's quite a high standard expected. And I believe, as is the case with a lot of Super League teams, because there have been some games where I've put my hands up and said, you know what, Phoenix were fantastic that night. I think there's a consistency issue, which is the reason you're probably not getting the credit that you may feel you deserve. There's a couple of, again, as I've said in the other videos that we've done, I've been able to look at certain stats and pull out certain things. And there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about in terms of the Bolton Phoenix squad. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the interview I did earlier today with Scott at Chudley Cannons. We were talking about players and average ratings. Now, I've just pulled up consistency as a possible thing for you guys. But one thing I did notice is your average ratings for players are actually more than acceptable. There was only one player who has played, who has featured this season, who is not averaging above a 7, and that is Deisler. Now, are you putting that down to age and experience, or do you think that maybe he isn't quite up to what you need from him?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think Deisler's definitely got the ability, and I think he is a player who will get better. He's had 2 poor games. I think he's played 1 game off the bench and started twice, and he definitely hasn't thrilled so far. But he's a player I know. I bought Deisler and Devils. He's someone who I'm a big fan of on the game. I think he can be solid in 3 or 4 positions in that set midfield, attack midfield, or right hand side. I think he can play all those fairly well. I have been disappointed in him so far, but I'm not going to write him off. He'll get a couple of games out of the team, no doubt, especially after the performance against Valen, where I think he generally was definitely the weak link. I played him and Figo. I think I'm not too sure. Did I play him in midfield? I played him maybe alongside Harry Kuehl in the attacking midfield role. I can't remember exactly what team I played, but he definitely flattered to deceive. He'll have a couple of days out, a couple of games out. I'm sure he'll come back strong if he can get back in the team, of course, which is always a challenge. I don't know if you want me to address why I think that we're, as you said, you looked at my my team's ratings. I've got the answer. I know the answer why my team is in 6th rather than 1st or 2nd. It's a blatantly obvious answer.
Please go ahead.
Iker Casillas is the reason. As you might look, he's played 11 games this season, and although his average rating may not be the worst in the league, it's definitely one of the worst for goalkeepers, and it's the shots conversion ratio of our opposition. I'd confidently say that we have probably the least shots against us in the league. I'd stake a fair bit of money on that. We have very few chances converted. Our defence this season, Jaap Stan's been absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best. I'm surprised he wasn't in the conversation for team of the first half of the season. didn't even get a nomination, which is probably my own fault because he was the one player from the team I would have nominated. But Onshaw's been good. Wes Brown's come in and had a couple of good games. Zambrotta and Dede may not have been as flamboyant and as consistent going forward as they were last season, but they've been very good defensively. We've conceded very few shots against, and there's been 3 games which we've lost where we've conceded 2 or 3 goals, and they're the only shots against us on target. And you've got to kind of put the blame somewhere, and in that situation, the blame goes to the goalkeeper. He's been a weak link after being an absolute hero in the final. I think he's went on his holidays after the final last season, and he's still not come back. So he is a bit young. He's going to have a bit of time out of the team. May come back towards the end of the season as we get towards the playoffs and the kind of the pressure games. I think he is a big game player. I think I mentioned that earlier on, but he's been dreadful this season. Absolutely dreadful. I'd be surprised if he's not bottom out of the average rating rankings of goalkeepers who consistently start. I think he's on 7.08. He's been so poor, and I've kind of gone a bit left field, you might say. I think a bit of surprising signing in the transfer window. Rab Douglas has come in. He's clean sheet in his first game, a win in our first game with him in the team, and I hope that continues.
It's a very interesting point you make, actually, because one of the things I've got written here is that Casillas, if we do a comparison outside of the Super League, and something that I think you'll take great pleasure in me saying almost, is the performances of Casillas remind me of his compatriot David De Gea, who
100%.
has the reputation of being one of the best keepers in the world, but since the last World Cup, I would say, he has been dog shit.
He's just got that mistake in him. He's got nothing to do all game, and when he has something to do, he's not watching. It's going in. I mean, the amount of mistakes he's made this season. No, it is what it is. I've dealt with it. I took the medicine. I bought a goalkeeper. I almost bought 2 goalkeepers in the window. I had to check myself. I thought if one of them doesn't work out, I might get another one. But thought it might be something I'm looking for at the end of the season if Douglas doesn't work out. But yeah, I completely agree with you. David De Gea, such a reputation, and he probably doesn't deserve it at the minute. And the comparison with Casillas is rightfully made.
It's an interesting point you made about defenders, particularly Jaap Stam, and it may answer the next 2 questions, which I'm going to lump together, but word them slightly differently, because I pulled out 3 players of interest for different reasons. I pulled out Wes Brown and Gary Neville, who Wes Brown has made 2 appearances this season, Gary Neville 6. Gary Neville, in my opinion, seems to be your fall guy. He's the first one to get dropped at the earliest opportunity and can never seem to get back in. But the other player, in a similar note, that interests me, and the reason it interests me is because I know that Swindon Devils were one of probably 3, I think you mentioned, teams that were interested. Boomsong has made 0 appearances this season. I know you were looking to let him go at the end of last season. He's still there, but not featuring. Are these players struggling to get in purely because Zambrotta is undroppable and Stam is undroppable? Or are you looking for something maybe transfer-wise that other managers aren't willing to offer?
Right. Let's take that kind of... I don't know about Gary Neville being the fall guy. His average rating is lower than Stefan Arnshaw, and it's not a myth that the games he started for me are the games which I've narrowly been beat. So I'm very reluctant to change a winning team. And when Arnshaw's in the team, and I think we defended well, and Stam's in the team, I think Stam's been brilliant. Even when we've not won the games, he's been consistently a high scored rating, high match rating, should I say. I think he's probably been definitely been my signing of the season so far. I think got quite a good deal for him last year. I'm very blessed in defence. Have you mentioned Wes Brown? Wes Brown's had come in for 2 games when I kind of shook things up a bit. He's played really well. He's definitely in my thing. I've also got Mirel Radoy, who he's probably someone else who I rate slightly above Boomsong. I know you inquired about him at the end of the season, as another club did, and I was he kind of came into the team when I had an injury to Zanoni towards the end of last season. I was playing two defensive midfielders, an injury to Zanoni, and Kale was playing dog shit, and he came in and played well, and he's got good stats. I just think that I've probably got, as it stands, I've probably got the core Zanoni and Kale, who are slightly better at defensive midfield. I've got Zanoni, if I want to play in there, or Zambrotta, who are better at right wing back, and I think I've got 4 better centre backs. So it's that he's not a bad player at all. He's a good player, but he's not good enough for my team at the moment.
I don't know if you're in a position to go into more detail, but his position is interesting, because I know when I inquired, we'd already agreed a deal for Deisler, and I came back afterwards and said, because you paid cash. I think it was like 10 million or something for Deisler. I can't remember the exact.
Yeah, looks like a bad deal, doesn't it? It looks like a bad deal from this.
Can we do a straight swap for Boomsong, because he's not playing for you? And you were like, that's not a bad idea, but you have an agreement in place. Now, evidently, that agreement didn't go through. Was there a particular reason for that?
Okay, a moth just attacked my head there. What's the reason that? The manager in question, I want kind of thing, but the manager who the deal was in place, in essence, changed his mind on the deal. It wasn't a kind of a done deal, and people had the opportunity to think about stuff and decide whether that's what they wanted to do. It was kind of a big transfer, which involved 2 players going each way, and I think the manager who I was doing the deal with was kind of weighing the best of 2 options up, because he had another deal, and he thought maybe best stick with what I've got. And then that kind of came a little bit too late, and then I was kind of at that point. I don't think the Decor deal was done, and at that point he would have been my second choice, set defensive midfielder, because Sebastian Kale was playing so badly. So that's the kind of reason I was reluctant to let him go unless I was getting another player back in. It's definitely something I'd revisit now. As I probably would, I'd probably be looking to take someone else off you rather than Deisler, and you could have Boomsong in it. But he's not a bad player. He's not in my first 11. He's probably not in my first 16, 17 players, if I'm being honest. So it's kind of, it's probably something which I would revisit, but
let's move up the other end of the pitch, because you've said you're blessed in defence. I think you are blessed in attack, because you're currently got the selection headache of Montella versus a very, very informed Torres.
Well, I've had injuries for Montella and Raul, who probably this kind of position 1 and 2 in my striker options, and an injury in midfield as well, which, because Fernando Torres is 18, and I wouldn't generally play him really unless off the bench until season 3. He was one of those, and I think I had an injury to Zambrotta, so that meant I couldn't put Harry Kuehl up there, and I was playing 2 up front at some point. So there's been a few options a few issues why Torres got his opportunity. And I agree, he's completely grabbed it. He's been scoring goals. He's been a good player. But you got to think about this. He's playing as a lone striker. He's getting lots of opportunities. And there's been a couple of games there, and I don't like criticising a young player like this, but there's been a couple of games there where I've been looking out for someone to grab the winner. Especially that game against Valen last week. I think he had 5 shots, Fernando Torres, 3 on target, no goals. And I was thinking, if Vincento Montella has 5 shots, he's scoring a goal. So it does give me a selection headache. once I've got strike options available, which I don't at the minute, I'm fully saying, I think Montella may be back for when the Super League returns, but I don't think I'd play Fernando Torres on his own. He may play as a 2 though, with Montella or Raul. That's my kind of reality. I think sometimes you can rely on Montella. If he gets those opportunities, he's going to score. I think Torres is a little bit too young to rely on, but I definitely see great things for him in the future, and he's played brilliant when he's been called upon so far.
It's very interesting getting into the tactical mind of a defending champion. Let's look ahead now. You've already mentioned Rab Douglas, so we don't need to go into that. He's your new signing in the out of Super League transfer window. Are you looking at making a second one, or will it only be the one?
Yeah, I'm not too sure where we're up to with it, but there's an Argentine midfielder called Guillermo Herrera from River Plate. I like the look of. I played him a few times on a home save. I think he can do a decent job. I've been very impressed, I said, with a lot of other teams or especially I'd say Midlothian, who've done some great business outside the league. A lot better than I kind of expected, really. There's been a few shockers as well. But Pereira, I think we've had the deal accepted with the club, and we're just kind of going through personal terms, and I imagine there'll be a work permit delay as well. So that's where we stand with that one. But I think he'll be in sooner rather than later. And he's someone I think he'll challenge for a starting place as well, maybe in that centre midfield right side if I'm playing Veron on the left side and moving Harry Kewell up to AMCL, whatever you want to call that position that I play. I didn't see the point really of going outside the league to buy a reserve. I thought if I'm going to buy players who are going to challenge for the first team. Whereas Rab Douglas, I knew was going to go straight into the first 11. It'll probably depend on the performance of Phoenix the week before, whether Pereira gets his opportunity when he arrives. But he'll definitely be an option there. And to be honest, it's an option which I've decided to bring in because of the disappointment of Dijsler, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think fancy trying Dijsler in that centre midfield right position again. So unless I switch formation or play him at right wing back, I'm not too sure how long it's going to be before Dijsler gets another look. But that's where Pereira's going to come in and do a job for me.
I think it's friendly rivalry, of course, but a lot of people are looking at your straight head-to-head with Panathinaikos for obvious reasons. Is it? I presume you're seeing it purely as a friendly rivalry, or does it really? Let's be honest. Does it mean a lot to you, even if it's 5th and 6th, that you finish above him?
I think I will finish above him. I don't think that's. I mean, it's just a matter of time, really, before that happens. What do I think? I think every rivalry in the Super League. I think I like all the other managers. I don't think there's any bad eggs in there. So I don't think there's any kind of real bitter. I don't have any real bitterness towards anyone in the league. So yeah, but yeah, there is a bit of bite to it with Panathinaikos. He's my best mate, Maka is. So him being in the Super League and especially because he's on such a good run and we weren't on such a good run when that game came about. It was a real sweet victory, and as much as he was, and that set him off on a bit of a bad run, didn't it? Which was nice to see. Yeah, but if there's if there's any rivalry, it's a friendly one. I'd probably look at the games I really get nervous for. Probably more the Valen games. They're the ones I really kind of look at and think, how am I going to do this? Churchtown as well, because he's going to score goals, and sometimes I kind of grind games out 1-0 or 2-1, and that's never good enough against Churchtown. So I think they're the two games where I really have to think about tactics and which players are playing which position. But the Panathinaikos one, yeah, it's at the moment it's nice and friendly. But if I lose one of those games, then it might turn pretty sour pretty quick.
I mean, I'm not predicting it will happen, but I think there's a very realistic chance that you two will meet in the end of season playoffs. And I'm just waiting to see how that friendly rivalry suddenly becomes a little bit more passive aggressive.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's our relationship. Full stop. He's
What are your hopes for Bolton Phoenix for the rest of the campaign? Is it just take it a step at a time, get in the top six regardless of position, then move your way through the playoffs as best as you can, or are you thinking more? We want to defend our title. It's all about winning at all costs now.
It's about winning the next game, and if we keep that attitude and we keep that kind of, we don't take it easy. I alluded to our next game, Sloths at home, which you might kind of think, okay, I mean, let's play the kids. No, you can't do that in the Super. I was thinking of getting I was thinking of getting Cherno Samba out of the reserves, but no, I thought you can't afford to do that. So yeah, I'll be relentless in my pursuit of winning the next game. I'm pretty certain that will take us to at least the playoffs. But I'm not discounting looking higher up and look at those top two positions. I don't want to be in those. You mean that? I don't want to have to go through that additional games. So the gap, as you kind of said, Ardsley are a little bit ahead, aren't they? But that second spot's only a few spots away, and we're way ahead on goal difference. I think only Churchtown are the team because they've scored so many goals, which can kind of match us when it comes to goal difference. So yeah, we'll look at that next game. We'll hopefully home game against Slough will go on to that, and then it'll be again refocus on the game after that and keep going. And I'm confident now. I think that's 4 games without defeat, 2 wins, 2 draws. I'm confident we can kind of start building that run together. I think it was alluded to in the comments of in Scott's comments in the last live show that we're just starting to get the wheels turning a little bit. We're starting to look like a team that's difficult to beat. Whereas, I mean, last season we'd have never been beaten 2 games on the trot by Ardsley and Midlothian, and that was a disgrace on my part. It's something that we've got to look at, learn from, and make sure it doesn't happen again, and then pay them back later in the season. But it's one game at a time. That's always the thing. And of course, we're not in it to do anything but win it. And we'll definitely give ourselves opportunity to return.
Listen, we've had the message to say we're running out of time. The one thing I'm doing with every manager that does these is I'm saying it's not about being politically correct. Get off that fence. I want to know, it's up to you whether you go 1 to 14 or 14 to 1. How is the table going to finish? And from there, who's going to win the Super League this year?
Sloths will finish bottom. Yourself 13th, I'm afraid. It's Swindon 13th. Then it gets a bit tougher. Then I'd probably say Hornets in 12th. I think BTEC will get a bit of farm up. So Hornets 12th, Dragons 11th, Hooligans 10. Who am I missing?
So you'd have BTEC, Chudley, and Astor. The other teams not currently in the top 6.
Yeah, I think BTEC probably would
9.
go 9th then. Yeah, BTEC 9th, Chudley 8th. I think Chudley have got a good manager there. I think they'll get a bit of form together at some point. And then I'm going to go Midlothian 7.
Oh, they're going to drop out.
I think Astor will do it, man. I can't see Midlothian keeping it together like they are doing. It's just been you mean there's going to be a little bit of tension between the management group they've got there. Joint managers never work, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But I think Alf's got all the experience. He'll get that team up there. Maybe Panathinaikos in 6th, Astor in 5th. Top 4 is really anyone's game. I'll go Churchtown 4th, myself 3rd, Valen 2nd, Ardsley 1st. But I mean, I've probably got all 14 of those wrong. All I know for certain is that we'll be in that top 6, and so we'll, the 3 teams that are definitely going to be there at the end of the season are Churchtown, Valen, and Phoenix. And that's the start, middle, finish of the Super League, really. Unless one of these teams really has something to say, I can't see anyone else winning it back from one of those 3.
Well, this is where I was going next. Hand on heart, is it a Bolton Phoenix retention, or will we have new champions?
It's a Bolton Phoenix retention.
Good lad, you couldn't really say anything else.
There's no other answer there.
Listen, thanks very much for joining me on this Sunday night. Good luck for the rest of the campaign. As it stands at the moment, until more likely me than you, until I start playing silly buggers again, we're playing more or less the same formation. So hopefully we'll have a similar trajectory at the table. I look forward to playing you in the playoffs when we beat everyone's expectations and nick that 6th place.
You've got to play consistently. Play Zidane in that AMC role, probably on the left-hand side, in my opinion. You've got to play him there. Seedorf at centre midfield, right-hand side. I think you've got a good squad. I mean, you've definitely got a good 11. So I can't. I mean, if you can keep those players fit, I like the formation you're playing. Obviously, it's similar to one I think what we're playing is similar at the moment. I don't think you're a 13th, 14th place team. I think you're probably, in my opinion, you've got a better squad than Hornets, better squad than Dragons. So they should be the teams you're looking to overtake. I mean, you've got to assume that BTEC are going to come good at some point, because I don't know what the fuck he's doing. But
listen, pal, all banter aside, good luck for the rest of their campaign. Look forward to seeing how your defence of the title does go. I look forward to being able to say that it's no longer the worst defence and you're actually starting to impress people. Thank you again. And
nice to speak to you, mate.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too. And I will see you later.
See you later, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.